Well, one of the biggest voices in the SEC had something to say about Jeff Lebby, and trust us, you'll want to hear it.
You are Locked On Mississippi State, your daily podcast on the Mississippi State Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. My name is Jaron Spoor. I'm a national college football writer at Athlon Sports. That's Landon McBride. We've got more football news for you today. Is Kamario Taylor the future? Well, one Barstool Sports worker, if you want to call him that. He's
an employee.
He is. Yeah, employee. He thinks he is. And also, two Mississippi State players ended up on the all-name team for FanDuel. They do that, for those that don't know. They do an all-name team, almost like an all-American team, but just creative names. I think they do an A, B, and C team, I think is what they do it. Yeah, and so two guys ended up on those lists. So we'll talk about that. But first, we got to talk about Paul Finebaum. He's back in the news talking about Mississippi State. And so he was asked actually by a young caller. It was a little kid from Starkville. He asked Finebaum, is Jeff Lebby the coach that can turn things around? And Finebaum said he thinks he can. He said the question is, does he have enough support? He said, I don't mean fans. I mean, does he have enough money flowing in where he can elevate the program high enough? And he's mentioned that before, and we've kind of talked about that as well. He also said that he thinks that Mississippi State's a team that could get to 4 games, and he's actually hoping that they can get to 6 in a bowl game because he really thinks Lebby is a guy that can be that coach long-term for Mississippi State. But in this new era, and this goes for a lot of coaches and teams and players, it all depends on how big your pocketbooks are with your NIL fund.
Yeah, and we've talked about that a little bit, that they're getting there. Because we feel like kind of like first Selman felt that they needed to get all of the facilities and everything up to the correct standard before kind of more, not that they were completely neglecting NIL, but really pouring all focus into the NIL. And now that things for the facilities standpoint seem to be in line, should be pouring more and more in the NIL. And with that, I think Finebaum is right. I mean, we've talked about it a lot. Lebby was the coaching hire that time. I mean, he was the hottest assistant coming off of what he did at Ole Miss and, OU, all these. He built great offenses at multiple stops. And I think if he has the resources, he's going to build something here. And this year will tell us a lot. Right. Not saying the results will be on the field, but it will tell us if the team is headed in the right direction.
Yeah, and headed in the right direction, still without an elite or even a very good NIL backing. Yeah. Like it's not been a bad one this year. They've done some good things. Obviously, Fluff Bothwell is a great example of that because there were some teams out there for him. I believe even North Carolina was one of them with Bill Belichick, and they're doing some good things with NIL out there. And it's not always the end all be all. We keep hearing how they're so good at the relationship aspect of it. But it is good to hear from someone working with the SEC and the SEC network and is one of the premier voices. You could argue is the voice of the SEC, telling you how good he thinks Lebby is as a coach and how good he thinks he can be. But it all depends on the backing, and so that kind of tells you. I kind of want to talk about this not today, but in maybe tomorrow's episode, because John Gruden said some things about wanting to get back into coaching and kind of saying he would love to coach in the SEC. And so I've seen some people bring up his name as, Mississippi State's coach, John Gruden. I'm going to tell you right now, I think John Gruden actually is a really good coach. Now, he did some bad things off the field, obviously, and that's why he's not doesn't have a job in the NFL right now. But I think he's a really good coach. It's not going to matter what kind of coach you get if you don't have the NIL backing. It's just not going to matter.
Yeah, it's very true. I mean, it's hard to say, like, even if you have the best coach ever, and you wouldn't be successful. But if you have the best coach ever, you're going to have NIL backing because people are going to pour money into a program that has a coach like that. So we've never seen something where someone has a great coach and no backing. But Yeah, I do think Lebby, it's hard to say yes. I feel like he's going to succeed. But yeah, there are few reporters that have their ear to the ground more than Finebaum across the SEC and college football. There are very few people who are more in the know with a national audience than he is.
Right.
He is so plugged in. And for him to say that, it makes me feel that not that he knows something we don't, but that, he's been around so long, he's talked to so many people that he sees how Lebby operates and sees the path to success that he has possibly seen in other countries. So as long as the backing comes, he's like, I've already seen this path. I've seen it with this person or this person. Obviously, he didn't say that, but that's going on in his mind while he's making this comparison or statement to where he's like, no, I see how this can work out. So as long as the backing comes, there's a path to success. And I think it's true. And honestly, having an elite offensive mind, that's one of the fastest paths to success in college and in the NFL.
I was about to say, a lot of the top teams, their head coaches come from offensive backgrounds in college and the NFL. Not always. I mean, obviously you have Kirby Smart at Georgia, who's a defensive guy, and so you still have those defensive minded. Dan Lanning at Oregon, but offensive guys are starting to take over the sport a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it is good to hear a guy like Finebaum, who's been around the sport a long time and covered the SEC a long time. He sees something in Lebby, and I wish he would have expanded a little more. Obviously, an 8-year-old kid's not going to know to ask a follow-up question like that.
Everyone listening, call in, ask the follow-up tomorrow.
Ask him what he sees in Lebby that makes him so confident. But no, that's what I would like to know. What is he seeing in Lebby that makes him go, yeah, I do see something here that can work at Mississippi State. And I think there's stuff that we see, but we're fans. And fans, we're going to see stuff and think, always the best outcome. Oh, he does this, so we know that's
the worst if you're beaten.
Yeah, or if you're the negative fan, then you think of all the worst stuff. But no, we always see the best qualities in everyone when we're a fan. Like this guy's getting overlooked, and he's so good, and it's like, well, actually, he probably wasn't as good as we thought. We just are big fans. So it's nice to hear someone kind of validate that. But he was, I believe, when we talked about Finebaum before, when he was talking about is the backing there, I think that was actually about the baseball job at the time.
So yeah.
And that just shows what he is hearing for all sports. Now, we saw what the baseball team then did. They hired Brian O'Connor, and we see the backing in terms of upgrading the facilities. And I understand, and we talked about it then, so the everydayers probably listen to that and remember that. But yes, in the NIL era, the money needs to mostly go to NIL, but when your facilities were so bad, you had to get those fixed first. And that's the one thing I will say about Zach Selman, and we've talked about many times about Zach Selman because he's gotten a lot of criticism. He's getting the backing from the donors. I mean, we've raised a historic amount of money. Yeah. Some of that had to go for the facilities, which it's sad that it had to go to the facilities because that's how bad of a job the ADs have done before him. And getting those facilities right before the NIL era. And because what really should be happening is all that money that he's been raising should be going to NIL because the facility's already good. But that's how bad the ADs have done before him.
Yeah, it should be going to NIL, but it does seem like now that's kind of on track to continue going forward to where that money can start going to NIL. And if I had to guess the things that Finebaum is seeing in Lebby, just pure guess, I think it is he's seen him build offenses at multiple stops to where he knows how to build an offense. And then the other thing is those relationships. We've talked about it a lot from Lebby and other people on this coaching staff. They seem to be very good at building relationships. And if you're able to get these, and we've talked about be in those battles for those high ranking recruits, get some of them commit, some of them you're just in the battle for. But when you're not on the same playing field in NIL and you're coming off a 2-10 season and you're still in the mix, that means you are very good at building a relationship. And so if you get that NIL backing and start to see results on the field, even if it's 4 wins, 5 wins, that will translate to some massive wins in recruiting, which would then lead to more wins on the field.
Yeah, and it doesn't just say the relationship part. Obviously, that's a big part. It shows that he's good at building relationships, but it also shows that they believe in the offense that he's running and the culture that he's building there as well. But yes, the offense that he's running is the big part, and they believe that what they do from an offensive standpoint, scheme and all that, and how he makes it kind of quarterback friendly, that's an offense they want to play in.
Yeah. And then you get an offense that people want to play in. You can bring in a lot of very good players. If you show that you have them put up big numbers on Saturday, that leads to them making a lot of money on Sunday. You can get a lot of guys coming into that building.
Yeah, and that's why we have said so many times that to win the battles, you got to be in the battles first, and it's big that they're in the battles because if they can start getting the results on the field, these recruits are already buying into the offensive scheme. If you can start getting the wins, they're going to buy any more and then commit. But we got to go to Kamario Taylor because he's a guy that we think can be the future at the quarterback position, but we're not the only ones who think that. We'll talk about that coming up next. Well, we've all been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see. Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Gametime comes in. Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. If you're tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal, Gametime's Zone Deals pick the best seats in your section for you. If you ever wonder what your view will actually look like before you buy, the app shows you a panoramic seat view, so there are no surprises. That's always been my favorite part. Talked about it many times. I use Gametime specifically for that feature because I have definitely picked up a seat, wanted to get a cheaper option, picked a seat, and been like, I'm going to spend an extra $50 or whatever to get better seats because this view is just not great. So I love that. Also, another thing that I hate about the other apps, but Gametime is great about, the price you see is the price you pay. There's no hidden fees. How many times have we seen something where you're like, oh, it's $200 for 2 tickets or 3 tickets, and you go to pay, and then now it's actually $400 for all of it or $300 for all of it because of the hidden fees. That stuff frustrates me. So that's another reason why I love Gametime. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so Kamario Taylor is obviously a big name for Mississippi State fans as the true freshman quarterback. Currently listed, I believe, as the third string because all the reports from the scrimmage and things has been Luke Cromenhawk has been the second string quarterback. But there are people buying into the Kamario Taylor hype, notably from Barstool. And no, it's not Brandon Walker, who's obviously a massive Mississippi State fan and talks about Mississippi State a lot. It's actually Liam Blutman. He obviously works for Barstool Sports and does several things. Unnecessary Roughness is another thing that he's on, which I believe that's the show that Brandon Walker's on, if I remember correctly. But he's a big believer in Kamario Taylor, and I retweeted it and said, basically get on board because we've been preaching that from the beginning, starting with Landon. Landon, credit to him, was the first one really on that train.
I will drive a lot of hype trains, and there's going to be a lot of them that I will drive right off the cliff. But this one seems to be staying on the tracks. No, he has so much raw talent. Mentioned it from the beginning. His arm it's real. That is NFL level talent arm. It was just kind of the processing, the playing the position that I thought might take some time. And
the accuracy, which that's another thing a lot of young quarterbacks struggle with.
But it seems like he's ahead of schedule and that he's going to get there quicker than we all thought. And I mean, best case scenario, he forces himself onto the field this year. But if that happens, I mean, that means he's taking jumps, but that athleticism it's not right that there are some quarterbacks out there with that type of athleticism, but he has it. So, I mean, yeah, it's real.
Yeah, and his size. You don't usually see a guy at 6'4", 230 move the way he does. Um,
Not
it
fair.
reminds you of, and I think he moves even better, but he reminds you of like a Dak Prescott type guy. But if you want to go to the Mississippi State comparison, and I hesitated on giving this comparison because people are going to take it the wrong way. I don't think he's this type of quarterback in terms of, I don't think he can get to this level. Maybe he can, maybe he can prove me wrong. But I think his playing style and his size is very similar to Cam Newton. Like, that's what I think his style of play and everything would kind of compare, if you want to compare that to. I do not think he's Cam Newton. I don't think he's going to lead Mississippi State to this national championship, #1 pick in the draft, future NFL MVP, all that. Like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just talking about his size and style of play.
I'm glad you said it and not me, but yeah, I was thinking the same thing actually, just because comps are hard. They're
Right.
not always perfect. And when you compare someone to, another player, everyone assumes you're comparing, oh, I think he's going to have that career. No, he has those type of traits.
Right.
He has a big arm. I think he might be a little faster than Cam, and
Good.
some of that maybe.
Although I saw a video the other day of Cam, I want to say it was against Alabama, and he like broke through the line of scrimmage on ended up being a 40-yard touchdown. And I'm watching, I'm like, okay, the safety's a little already ahead of him. He's got a great angle. And next thing I know, Cam is just outrunning him. And next thing I know, he's in the end zone. And I'm like, how was that a touchdown?
Yeah.
There's no way. And untouched after he got through the line, untouched. And I'm like, there's no way he just did that.
Yeah, which I think my memory of Cam, I think I'm remembering a little bit too much of the mid-career NFL Cam who lost a little bit. But I think Kamario might be a little bit faster and maybe a little bit shiftier and not quite as much power. Like, he's not going to run through as many people, but he's going to make a few more people miss. And that might just me buying my own hype that I've created at this point. But no, I think best case scenario, my perfect world, he gets in a few games this year. You get him some reps. Maybe you design a few packages for him and early in the year, you design packages where he can run. That's the whole point in. But you have to start giving him an option to throw off of those packages if you do that, because you don't want the defense to know it's going to be a run play the second he walks onto the field. Right. So design a few things, get him some reps, get him some game time, and then next year, I think you unleash him. I think as soon as the season's over, Lebby needs to start designing an offense for Kamario Taylor after this year.
Yeah, I would agree. And the one thing I would say, do not burn that red shirt this year. Like, if you obviously have to, because like Shapen got injured or something, knock on wood.
I agree.
I'm not talking about that, but I'm just talking about, don't be like, okay, I have this package for him.
I agree with that.
And don't, like, I have to use it no, don't do that. But I was looking at it because I kind of remember reading about his high school stats.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this, Max Preps isn't the best. I love Max Preps because
for
a lot of things, but they're not the best at the stat game. But
they're just relying on someone who went to the game to write it down and send
right. And so, and I will say high school numbers are very hard to follow. But I forgot how great his senior season was. 2,752 yards, 39 touchdowns, and only 6 picks. Oh, and he ran for 1,190 yards and 16 touchdowns. Like, I forgot just how stupid video game like numbers he had.
I haven't even put up those kind of numbers with anyone in the new college football game yet.
Right. I mean, it's just a stupid numbers. And for a guy from Mississippi to choose Mississippi State was also big because I was actually looking at this maybe Friday or Saturday, and it was showing the top recruits from Mississippi, and I think one was committed to Ole Miss, none were committed to Mississippi State of the top 10. And so it's just crazy how neither school really has a stranglehold on the state. And so anytime you get a player like that talented, who we think is going to be a really good player, to say, hey, I'm staying home. And, not just that, I'm going to Mississippi State. That's obviously massive. But I agree with you. As soon as Shapen's done this year, you build that offense around Kamario Taylor and you ride next year.
Yeah, you have to with that kind of talent, and kind of tying it back. Hopefully, the NIL is not a reason he leaves. I think he's committed here. This is not me breaking some kind of crazy news or anything. I think he wants to be here, but you never know what someone's going to come calling with. So
yeah, we also thought Michael Van Buren would stay, but
yeah, exactly. So got to get that together. But yeah, got to start building a package for him because I think he's the real deal and he's going to put up some crazy numbers.
I will say this. I liked Michael Van Buren a lot, and I was hoping he would stay because I thought he's a better quarterback than Blake Shapen, but that's another topic. But with Kamario, with Kamario Taylor on the team, it might be okay that Michael Van Buren left.
I think so.
Because he would obviously have started this year. He would have had to start, assuming that Michael stays and Shapen leaves, he would have started next year, which I would rather Kamario Taylor be the starter going into next year. So we'll see what happens with Kamario Taylor's future, but I think he's the future of the program. I think they're right on the money. All right, we got to talk about FanDuel's all-name team. 2 Mississippi State Bulldogs made it. Who are they? Let's talk about it. All right, well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen every single day, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so FanDuel puts out an all-name team every single year. I believe they put an A, B, C, and then they do an honorable mention, but it's basically like an all-American format. So 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, so on and so forth. There are some great names on here.
Oh, it's fun.
Real quick, we'll get to the Mississippi State part. They both made the B team.
The A team on the B team.
Okay, so yeah. Okay, I did miss one on the B team. Then, I missed Fluff. There you go, I missed Fluff. The funny thing is, I was going to talk in this segment about how I thought Fluff was snuffed on it. But there's some great ones. One of my favorite is Tommy Running Rabbit.
Oh, it's so good.
I love that one, and that's on the A team, if you want to call that.
I think Gideon ESPN Lamprin is my favorite. Just having a middle name ESPN.
Yeah, that's amazing. A good one. Pig Cage is a really good one.
Mobility,
yeah, and that's been one I've seen for a while. That's a really good one as well. But the B team, that's where we find Fluff Bothwell at running back. We find Diesel Moye on the defensive line, obviously, and
I think it's Moye.
It could be Moye. Fat Forrest is linebacker. So 3 Mississippi State guys on the B team.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense. And I wanted to say that Fluff should have been first team. But, I mean, you mentioned Tommy Running Rabbit. It's hard to beat Hollywood Smothers. I mean, I think you can make the argument that Fluff Bothwell deserves, A team over Hollywood Smothers. But this is just a fun list for me. And
I think he's getting a bump because of his last name. You like Smothers over Bothwell.
It's true. That's good. Diesel Moye, also good. Anyone named Diesel, that is an A+. Yeah. It's an A+ nickname or name in any sporting situation.
Yeah. But I do. Now that I keep looking at it, I think I would put Fluff over Hollywood Smothers. I just don't think Hollywood is this, because I feel like it gets used so much.
It's not cool anymore. It's been used too much.
Right. And we kind of heard it, Hollywood Brown was a really good nickname. That wasn't his name. It was Marquise Brown, but he was from Hollywood, Florida. Obviously, who was it? I always forget his name. Not Joel Klatt, who was the announcer. Johnson is his last name.
Gus Johnson.
Gus Johnson. I was about to say Greg Johnson. I knew it was a G. And the funny thing is, he's like my favorite one. My favorite play-by-play caller. And I couldn't think of his name. But anyways, he called him Hollywood because he's from Hollywood, Florida. Yeah. And it just was a great name. But it feels like after that, it seems like all these players are trying to be nicknamed Hollywood and all this stuff. And it's just like, it's not as cool anymore.
It started with Hulk Hogan being Hollywood Hogan.
Right. R.I.P. But no, so we got some positive things heading to the season. We got 3 guys on the all-name team. That's what we need.
Yeah, I love it. Just some other ones I really enjoyed off this list. Ephesians Prysock, that is a great one. And then, Scrappy Osby. I like guys named Scrappy.
Yeah.
But no, this is one of my favorite things that people do. And this is obviously not meant to we're not making fun of any of these people. I think some people take this the wrong way.
Like we legit love these
names. It's fun. And the majority of these are also nicknames.
Right.
And then some of these you hear where the name comes from, and it makes it even better. Like you understand the story behind why someone was named what they were, and it makes it a great name.
Right. Yeah, I saw one, and he's not listed on this because it's not like a cool name, but I was reading this story. I was reading stories about some of the different names in the sport, and one of them was about R. Mason Thomas, who's a defensive end from Oklahoma. He was all SEC. Like, they think he'll be an All-American type player this year. And I noticed that it was an R and then no period, then Mason. So I was like, that's kind of weird. I wonder what the R stands for. And I was reading stories about different names, and his came up. You're talking about these stories, the great stories behind the names. And it was because his mom, his name is R, his first name is R space Mason. That's his first name. And it's because his mom doesn't like, or his mom's side, all the guys' names start with an R. But she didn't like any of the R names. So she just put an R there to make the history continue, and then put the name that she wanted to actually call him in Mason. Like, that's just a great story. He's not going to end up on a name list because R. Mason isn't like this funny, cool name or anything like that. But it's just a funny story.
It's a great name, and it reminds me of our friend Sir Calvin's story.
Yeah.
But we don't have time to get into that. But
he should have been on the all name back in his college days.
He might have been.
He might have been.
We didn't know him back then.
We didn't know him then. So, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for making Locked On Mississippi State your first listen today. For your second listen, check out The Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find The Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. I'm Jaron. Check out my work over at Athlon Sports. That's Landon. Follow us, Locked On Mississippi State. We're on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Hit that like, subscribe, ring the bell on YouTube. Help us get to that 1,000 subscriber goal by early college football season. That would definitely mean a lot to us. If you ring the bell, you get notified anytime that we post content. And so that would obviously mean a lot to us. But yeah, I hope to bring great content for you once the football season starts, and obviously leading up to the football season as well. But until next time, Hail State.
Hail State.